properties that go up for tax sale that don't necessarily sell. People don't pay it. Those become adjudicated properties, and the city or parish frequently holds auctions where you can buy those titles outright and take possession sooner. So every year they have the annual tax sale, and for whatever reason, some properties people pay the taxes and they're looking at investments, but some of them, no one bids on the taxes. That's not an attractive investment for that year. If that happens, the taxing authority, the parish or the city, steps in and they basically function as the tax sale purchaser. That process is called adjudication. They adjudicate the property. If a property is adjudicated for a certain number of years, 5 years minimum, the parish can then put it on a list, and you can go on most parish websites and they'll have a list of these properties. They don't own them, but they have the right to auction them off. You bid like a traditional sheriff sale type auction against other people. Highest bid wins, and you own that property outright.
No quiet title?
You don't need a quiet title. Different parishes have different processes, and that's something where you really need to call me or someone who's really knowledgeable on that and advise you on each individual parish. So if you're looking at Orleans or St. Bernard or East Baton Rouge or Caddo Parish, each one has its own little things that they have to do differently. Things that seem trivial that can be major pitfalls when you go to close on these properties whether you're trying to build on them or resell them or do whatever with them. You do need to be advised that if you're buying those, do your research. I spend hours and hours of my week talking to people and advising them on what to do and how best to approach those. And, we do a lot of number crunching.
On the bid process.
Bid process, and also you're buying this and you're going to have title to it, but similar to what we were talking about where people had a judgment of possession, can you get title insurance on the back end? Because you've got to be able to get that. It's all important, because you're not going to be able to sell it to somebody who's taking out a mortgage to buy it. You're not going to be able to finance it through a lender unless you're able to get that title insurance. We talked about the change in law, the ability for us to insure these properties through an underwriter who's willing to write it and guarantee these titles is crucial to the success of this. That is as important, if not more important, than the change in law.
Okay, so I go to an adjudication sale. I buy one. I get good title to it.
They're gonna issue a sale.
Now I want to put in $200,000 worth of improvements on. Mm-hmm. Am I safe? Is it insurable, or is it questionable insurable?
The lawyerly answer on that is it's questionable insurable, because it's going to depend. Right now, if you're buying an adjudicated property through Civic Source, it's going to come with an insurance policy. So Civic Source is the vendor that handles sales of adjudicated properties and also does the annual tax sale for Orleans Parish, and they do several parishes across the state. So they're a contractor and they function on behalf of these parishes. And there are other contractors too that do this. Civic Source is just the one that is larger and does more of them at this time.
Has Civic Source done any title work on the property and gotten them ready to basically adjudicate them?
And an adjudicated auction like this, where you're buying actual deed to the property, title to the property, they have done title work and they've done extensive noticing work, and it's coming with a policy. So you're getting merchantable, warrantable title if you're buying it through that process. Now, I would compare that with, let's say, East Baton Rouge Parish. You don't bid online at East Baton Rouge Parish. You go down in person, bid on them at the courthouse. It's usually cheaper, but it's not coming with any title. And they tell you this. I mean, they're upfront with you about this. They're not hiding the ball, but it's a lot of information that people don't understand. But you've got work to do on the back end when you get that. You're going to have to do title work. You may have to send out some noticing. That's probably going to require hiring an attorney or someone skilled in that kind of stuff to do that correctly. And then at that point, you can look at reviewing that with someone like me to get it to that insurable level. You're probably going to pay more at a Civic Source type auction or any auction where they're offering it with title insurance. But you also have to factor in what's going to be my cost if I don't. How much time am I going to invest on the back end to be able to get it to that level? And that's something that you can weigh out and decide, if you're getting the property for $100 at a Baton Rouge auction, maybe it's worth it for you to do that. But maybe it's worth it for you to pay, $5,000 to $8,000, which maybe is lower than market value of what you would pay on the open market. These are just business factors that you have to weigh, but you got to have the knowledge and know what you're weighing to be able to make an informed decision on that.